know, I mean, the boughs hold a little bit of heat from whatever, and they offer some protection. I just had a little kneeling pad here. I just leaned against there. Just something, right? That's what I did with those ones. Hey, it's Greg here with Maritime Gardening. I'm just out in the morning, just checking the garden. We had a risk of frost last night. I think there was a potential low of 3 or 4 degrees Celsius. Doesn't look like we got any here, but anyway, I thought I'd do a video showing a couple things I did last night just to mitigate against that, based on the situations I had. So I had these tomato transplants set up nice, right, under these cages. So I couldn't really, these ones I could have covered, I suppose. But anyway, I just had these spruce boughs out anyway. When I first planted them, I put them over top just to reduce the amount of sun they were getting, to sort of finish off the hardening off process. It's a good little trick. Anyway, I mean, that's not the... So I'm going to go from good, better, best in terms of protecting against frost. So this is basically better than nothing, right? If we'd had a light frost, this would have given some protection. Right, these ones here, of course, I couldn't put anything over these because I had the trellis all set up, and they're already tied to it already because these ones are a bit higher. This is a indeterminate tomato. I can't remember the variety. Like, I can't remember what they're called, but anyway, they're Amish paste tomato. Anyway, I couldn't put anything over those, so I had to use these boughs. So, you know, I mean, the boughs hold a little bit of heat from whatever, and they offer some protection. I just had a little kneeling pad here. I just leaned against there. Just something, right? So that's what I did with those ones. Over here, I got cucumbers planted down the middle. They haven't emerged from the soil yet, but anyway, I put these over just because I was afraid the seeds would get cold and that would be the end of them. And I've had that happen lots of time. I mean, it's like June 2nd, right? But that still happens here. You can have beans, cucumbers, squash, things like that, direct sown, and the seeds fail to germinate because the soil got too cold one night, right at a crucial stage in the germination process. So I covered them like that. Over here, I got bush beans. I just put this thing over top. That's pretty good. Now, it wasn't big enough to cover the whole thing, but luckily we didn't have enough frost to damage them anyway, right? But I thought, I mean, I have bigger things to cover stuff with, but they're in storage now, and I just couldn't be bothered. So I just took the gamble, right? I said, well, I'll just lose 30%. So that's what I did. Now over here, I got climbing beans on trellis, and there was nothing I could do. I mean, when I was lying in bed that night, I thought I should have just leaned some cardboard, you know, on either side and done something like that. But I was tired, and I just said, oh, you know, maybe it'll be okay. My wife said that the risk of frost wasn't local to here, that it was a location, you know, like a 30-minute drive from here. But I mean, it's cold right now. I'm talking to you, but I got a toque on and a sweater, right? It's a bit, you know, it's probably 5 or 6 Celsius this morning, right? Anyway, these guys are okay. These beans are all right. Now we go over here, get to something a little bit better, right? So I still have these kicking around the garden because I'm still using them, actually, these domes, right? And I've got videos on how to make these, and you know, my designs have evolved over the years, from extremely simple to most recent design, which is the best, and of course a little more complicated. But anyway, I put this over top of these eggplant transplants, right? There's one right there, doing fine, right? A little bit of flea beetle damage from what I can see, but other than that, they're doing all right. Yeah, that's what I did with these, and they're fine. And I'm actually going to leave it. I'm going to put this here today and leave it sort of propped up a bit. It's supposed to get up to 20 Celsius today, and it's supposed to be sunny. You know, these kinds of plants will take all the heat. I mean, the challenge with these kinds of plants, eggplant, we got a good sunny day today, so we got lots of sun. But if the soil isn't warm, they don't grow well, right? So you got to get your soil heated up to have good results. And so you have to, for me in this location, I kind of have to figure out with stuff like this for the better part of June, right? Once we get into July, things are okay. But for June, to be successful with eggplant, yeah, you have to sort of manage your heat. Every day you look at the forecast and is it going to be sun? How hot is it going to be? You know, is it going to rain? Blah, 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 and then you make a decision. So today I'm going to go with leaving this open. There's enough air here, right? The air can get out. So that'll just be a little bit warmer in here. You know, it'll be like at the hottest point in the day today, it'll be 20, maybe be 30 in there, right? Over here I've got peppers. You can see there's spruce boughs everywhere, and that's because when I first planted them, I just had them sort of over the plants, right? But here's one of the peppers here, right? So when I first planted them, I put these over top like that, just leaned over, just to help them harden off, right? So I got my peppers there, and I'm going to do the same thing with the peppers. I'm going to put that stick and prop this thing open a little bit, right? Just like that. There shouldn't be too much wind today. I think that's another thing. When you prop them open like this, you have to look at the wind, because the wind can catch and lift the thing off and throw it into your house. I think that today it's just gusting to 20 kilometers, so it's not a particularly windy day, so it should be fine today. Well, we had another night with risk of frost, and I got a little bit more careful last night, so I thought I'd show you a couple more tricks. So with these beans, where they have the trellis, I really can't put something over them, right? But I had this old wood, just from one of the beds, you know, it rotted and fell apart. So I just put that there, you know. I mean, the way it was set up, right? Just leaned against it. Just add some, you know, like some heat, some protection, something, right? I mean, every little thing you can do can matter when it's just a matter of a degree or more between damage and not damage, right? So just by leaning that up, right? And I think we got another, but believe it or not, we have another day. Even though it's the first week of June, I've got another day with some crazy frost coming soon. I think it's like a Friday today, and I think maybe Saturday is going to be one of those type days. So I'll just leave those there, right? And over here, because I was worried about the frost last night, I put all the boughs over these ones, right? They can come off now, because we're going to have a nice sunny day now, right? These can all come off. I'll just leave them around here. I'm throwing them off the soil because I got basil planted there that probably take a month to germinate at this rate. But I don't care, I store it. So anyway, on top of these cages, I just threw a tarp, right? I mean, cages are almost begging you to put a tarp over them. There we go. You can see these tomatoes have taken a bit of punishment from flea beetles. There's a flea beetle right there. And the lower leaves anyway, right? Basically the lower leaves look like they got a little bit of sun scald, right? Because when I put them out to harden off, I just put spruce boughs over the top just to dapple the sun coming through, and that protected the ones on top. But the ones on side got the sort of late afternoon sun, early morning sun, and it looks like they got damaged. And because they're damaged, they're just that much more vulnerable to pests. I usually don't find flea beetles to be a big problem with tomatoes, so I haven't treated these. But I do see a few flea beetles around. Anyway, that's what I did for the tomatoes this time. Just throwing you a couple extra tricks, right? And these have started to, I was worried about these last night because they've started, these are cucumbers, they've started to emerge, right? So, yeah, in places, they're not all up, but let's say 20%, 30% of them are up. So I definitely want these off now, because they will cook. I think it's supposed to get up to 20°C today. They will cook under that. That end of the garden is sunnier, so these haven't even poked through the soil yet, so I can still use this block of wood to cover them, right? They'll just basically germinate at that end first and eventually germinate at this end. But yeah, just a couple more little things I was doing, a couple more little tricks, and there's lots of different ways to do this, but it's really something you have to manage when there's a risk of frost. Crossing your fingers is not the best plan. It's worth, I mean, it took me Last night I came out here after supper. I spent 5 minutes in the garden just covering these things up, just being careful. I mean, here's a good indication. Did we get frost? I didn't see any on the grass this morning. And these bush beans were not covered at all. And they look fine, right? They're doing all right. A little bit of flea beetle damage, but they're not, I see no frost damage here at all. So it looks like we didn't get frost last night. But I slept a little better knowing everything had a, you know, some sort of cover. Just a few more tricks. See you in the next video.